Does everybody have a song sheet, a prayer sheet? Get it out. Song number 1.
Oh, yeah. Welcome. Welcome. Shalom. It means peace. My name is Paul Kipnis. I'm one of the rabbis here at Congregation Or Ami, with Cantor Doug Kotler and Rabbi Julia Weiss, who will be up here on the bema with me. We welcome you here tonight for this interfaith candlelight service. I thank you for being here, for coming out tonight. I look forward to having the candles moved down in one piece. Beautiful. And that's the metaphor of today, that if we work together, we need not burn down the house. You may go home now. Welcome, everybody. It is an honor and touching and meaningful to have you all here. People representing so many faith communities, some from no faith communities at all, people who came here to be with us during this difficult time for the Jewish people, for all people. I want to particularly welcome those of you who are worshiping with us through the live stream. Thank you for being here. Please leave a message so we know that you are here, and any of our young people, our college students, particularly who are away, please send us a text so we know you're with us. Finally, I want to let everyone know that as we gather together and strengthen each other and mourn the 11 dead and pray for those who are wounded, that we are mixing prayers that for the Jewish community have meaning, some in Hebrew, some in English, with songs and words that we hope will be meaningful to all communities. Forgive us for those times that we have to fall back into our Jewish texts and prayers. For as Jews, we have certain rites and rituals that we do to bring us comfort. In the Hebrew calendar, last Saturday's date was the 18th day of the month of Cheshvan. It is a unique month. Why? Because Cheshvan holds no holidays. The month before, we call it Tishri, is filled with holidays. We celebrate Rosh Hashanah, the New Year. We give thanks for the bounty we have on the Festival of Booths. We celebrate the gift of the Torah scrolls in the Ark on Simchat Torah, the first 5 books of Moses. Now, this month today, Cheshvan, is followed by another holiday, another month, called Kislev, when we light those candles on the Hanukkah menorah, thanking God for religious freedom. There are 12 months in the Jewish calendar. 11 of them are filled with holidays for celebration. But Cheshvan, this month, Cheshvan is the only Hebrew month without a holy day in it. We Jews actually call it Mar Cheshvan, bitter Cheshvan, in keeping with the bitterness of having nothing to celebrate. And that's why last Saturday was so hopeful for the members of Tree of Life Synagogue and the other 2 Jewish communities that share its sacred space in Pittsburgh. Last Saturday, the Sabbath, Shabbat, was to be sweetened with words of holy prayers, with the study of Torah, themes of compassion and hope, and a bris, the celebration of entering a newborn baby into the covenant with the Holy One. Everyone was excited. At the entrance stood Cecil and David Rosenthal, brothers who are cousins of our own congregants, Carol and Darrell Lieberstein. They were handing out prayer books. In the kitchen was Daniel Stein and Richard Gottfried, who were preparing bagels and lox for the communities. Elsewhere, 97-year-old Rose Mallinger and 75-year-old Joyce Feinberg and all sorts of other people were anticipating the celebration of Shabbat. They and others had gathered to sweeten the bland Jewish month, the bitter Jewish month. And then he, filled with hate, proclaiming all Jews must die, walked in the doors, brandishing the weapons he rightly could own by the laws of this land, made manifest the malevolent message of his white supremacist, hate-filled ideology, and began to murder the Sabbath observers. And then he wounded police officers brave first responders. And then after killing 11, he surrendered himself. In the hospital where he was taken, he again espoused his hate-filled anti-Jewish vitriol. And then, nonetheless, he was cared for by one Jeffrey Cohen, a Jewish doctor, and at least 2 other Jewish medical staff members. Why? Because although he spit forth his poisonous venom, Jews must always offer hope and healing. And that is the message. Do not say, please, that he was mentally ill, for such excuses offend the many, many who struggle daily with mental illness and lead nonetheless lives of decency, of connection, of love. Instead, call him what he is, a hater who intentionally brandished his abhorrent ideology as easily as he wielded his weapon of mass murder, and believing that he was acting for a higher purpose, walked into a house of worship and murdered in cold blood. And that, my friends, is the difference between him and us, between the hater and the hated, between that abhorrent one and his ilk, who turn against anyone whom they deem to be essentially different from themselves, and push for segregation and deportation and anti-Semitic detestation, for Islamophobic intensification, for gay, lesbian, trans, queer, black, brown, yellow, red skin, colored inclusion negation. That's the difference between him and the rest of us. We, when we see those within the wonderfully wide range of religious beliefs, the rainbow shades of skin color, the glorious multiple genders, the sensational spectrum of national origins, we bless it. That which our tradition calls the magnificent miracle of creation. A teaching that we descend, all of us, from a single pair of human beings. We are deliciously, delightfully diverse because we are all children, according to our tradition, of one God, because we are connected through God to each other, to the oneness. My heart aches, as yours does too, for the 11 killed, for the many wounded, for their families and community. My heart breaks for us all, because now my fears are real, as the poisonous hatred has been unsealed, as we are made to feel unsafe and forced to mourn. Now, like many of you, I grew up reading that post-Holocaust poem written by the German Lutheran pastor Martin Niemöller, who warned us. First they came for the scientists, and I did not speak out because I was not a scientist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. And then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. And then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak out for me. How is it possible that in 2018, the haters again came for me, for us? Did you know that just a few days ago, a swastika, that symbol of Hitler, of destroying, eradicating all the Jews, was drawn on the pathways leading to our own Calabasas High School? What can we say? Hate is coming home. And this month again has become embittered. And our hearts are broken, and our sense of safety is shattered. We can say that, yes. But it's not enough. What should I say when we know that the spike in anti-Semitism in America today is just one part of a broader cultural trend of hatred and demonization that many minority communities are facing, whether they are Jews or Muslims, Latinos or blacks, Sikhs, immigrants, refugees, LGBTQ folks? It was Rabbi Sharon Brous, who said, "Today, as we speak out not only as a Jewish community, but alongside multi-faith allies and partners, because we know that the Tree of Life Synagogue now joins that sad and sorry list of sacred spaces that have borne witness to a massacre in America, alongside that Sikh temple in Wisconsin and Emmanuel AME Church in Charleston and First Baptist Church in Sutherland Springs and so many other places, holy places, where white supremacist nationalist haters wield their weapons of hatred and murdered worshipers." So let's denounce the anti-Semitism, please. And let's condemn racism and hatred in all its forms. And let's admit that our hearts are broken. That yes, we are afraid. And to this, let's hear the words of Genesis, when God responded to a fearful patriarch Jacob with the words, "Al tira," fear not. Do you know that in every generation in the Bible, from Ruth's to David's to Daniel's, so many of our ancestors heard these words, just when they needed them most, just when they, like all of us, felt the most vulnerable, the most alone. They heard God's message of hope. "Al tira," the Holy One says, "fear not, for I, the Holy One, am with you. Do not be afraid." But where is God now? When people walk into sanctuaries of holiness and murder. Here's my answer. Take a look to your left. And take a look to your right. And see the faces of those next to you. For in them is the love that they brought with them as they came together to stand in solidarity against hatred, against anti-Semitism. That's God's assurance that you need not be embittered, for you are not alone. And try this. Take your right hand and put it out like this. And take your left hand and put it out like this. And then hold hands with those next to you. Feel the loving strength in those hands. We teach that those are the hands of God holding you tight, holding you up. It doesn't matter if those are the hands of Jews, or of Christians, or of Muslims, of Baha'i or Buddhists, of Sikhs, of Sufis, of atheists, agnostics, of people of faith. Because although the world has turned scarier by our presence here tonight, holding on to each other, the world shines a little brighter with a little more hope. I want you to know that by your presence here today, all of you, of all faiths and non-faiths, you bring in the Holy One's presence, declaring truth, the unmutable truth. Al tira, do not be afraid, for I am with you. For through me, we say to each other, God is with you. And I must tell you that I, Paul Kipnis, a Jew, I confess that by your presence here today, I am a little less afraid. By your love filling this room, I am beginning to feel a little consoled. You are sweetening the bitterness that has become this month of Cheshvan. But let's also remember something together as we hold on to each other. Let's remember what else was happening that morning in Pittsburgh. We must. Let's remember that a newborn baby was brought by his parents into their sacred synagogue to be welcomed into what we Jews call the Brit, the covenant with God. The synagogue was filled with parents and children, with family and friends, with religious leaders and congregants. They were celebrating that tiny tot. They were investing that bundle of joy with their belief, our shared belief, that the world is founded not on hatred, but on chesed, on unconditional, unlimited, overflowing love. And that this love And this compassion will one day sweeten the bitterness for this newborn baby and for his family and for all of us. We must work together so that when that baby becomes a bar mitzvah in the month of Cheshvan in 13 years from now, his world, our world, will be a little kinder, a lot more compassionate, a lot more peaceful. Let us commit to birthing a world that asks like Fred Rogers, like Mr. Rogers would act, he who was born, lived around not far from that synagogue. Let's ask for a world that asks to the people we see who may not look like us or talk like us or love like us, but we will still say to them, right? Won't you be my neighbor? So go forth this week and be agents of chesed, of love. Go forth this week and do acts of kindness and hope. Go forth this week and be a light, so that when the next babies are born into this world and their young children are brought to synagogues and churches and mosques and other houses of worship, when they are brought to the movies and to concerts, when they were brought to their schools and everywhere else, when they emerge from their mother's womb, they will be welcomed by a gorgeous, growing light of hope. Al Tirah, says our sacred books. Do not be afraid. Say it with me. Al Tirah. Do not be afraid. Al Tirah. We will not be afraid. Because when we are with each other, God is with us too. Al Tirah. We refuse to be afraid. Amen. I'm going to ask you to stand up if you're able to. At nighttime, we Jews sing a prayer. It's called the Hashkivenu, and it's in Hebrew, and then it's in English. And it's a prayer for safety and peace. And because we're in California, we put our arms around each other. So if you're comfortable, come do the same. And I'm going to give you the words. You can look at song number 1 if you want. But I'm going to give you the words, and you'll sing them out. And we'll pray for a night of peace. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu.
Lishalom.
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 V'ha'amidenu shomreinu. Lechayim. Ufros aleinu. Sukkot shlomecha. Ufros aleinu. Sukkot shlomecha. Amen. Shelter us beneath thy wings.
Shelter us beneath thy wings.
O Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things. O Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night.
Keep us safe throughout the night.
Till we wake with morning's light. Teach us daily wrongful right. will make our way through sadness and mourning, into hope, into messages of brotherhood and sisterhood. Phones and make sure they are off or on silent. We are joined together today.
That he could not be here in person. Tonight we mourn the my dear Jewish brothers. May God bless you and join our heart. I speak we are ourselves. Love ever. But as I reflected on the horrors of last Saturday and felt a grief, a thought came to my mind. Neighbors live close to our homes, but you, our older brothers and sisters in faith, you live close to our hearts. Through you, we know a God who loves up close, even if it doesn't always feel that way. Through you, we know that God's word speaks to us in the darkest hours, when all hope seems lost. Through you, we know that humankind is built for freedom, not slavery. Through you, we know that faith is a journey that can sometimes feel like wandering in a dry and barren desert. Through you, we know that God will shepherd his people from death into life. So why am I here? To instruct you, my older brothers and sisters, on how to handle crisis and loss and evil? Please. You've been doing just fine with that for 5,000 years. No, I'm here tonight along with many of my fellow parishioners at St. Mel and our priest, Father Lima, to affirm what we've witnessed and what we know to be true. You have and you will walk through the valley of the shadow of death and emerge stronger than ever. You have and you will confront evil and fight for good. You have and you will strive for justice, love mercy, and walk humbly with God. You have and you will show the world that love will always be more powerful than hate. I have no doubt that you felt alone in this battle. Far too often you have been. But tonight I tell you that you are not alone. I stand with you. My wife and my parents stand with you. St. Mel Parish stands with you. And every true Christian stands with you. Tonight we mourn, but tomorrow holds new opportunities. In the words of Tennyson, "Come, my friends, 'tis not too late to seek a newer world." Let's seek this newer world together. You who are close to our hearts. Your little brothers and sisters in faith love you. Shalom.
If my candle lighters can come up, please. If you are candle lighting, please come up. In Judaism, as in so many faith traditions, light has two meanings. The first is joy. The Torah teaches us that light was the first of God's creations. As light appeared, it brought with it the possibility of the wondrous things to follow. We add light into our lives when we celebrate. We light candles on a birthday cake, or when Jews celebrate Hanukkah or the Sabbath. And when a baby is born, some Jews light candles, one for each parent and one for each child, symbolizing the added light that this child's presence brings into their world. But light also means remembrance. As Jews, we light a Shiva candle on the first day we bury our loved ones, that burns for 7 days following. And we light a yahrzeit candle, a memorial candle, on the anniversary of a loved one's death. And we know that in other faith traditions, we light candles for thinking of those who are in need of healing and remembering a recent death. Tonight, we sadly light 11 candles in memory to honor the 11 souls extinguished unnecessarily on Saturday morning. But even in this time of memory and sorrow, we are strengthened by the fact that our candle lighters this evening are people from our community, our family, our landlord, some of our elected officials, or those that work with our elected officials, our interfaith friends. In this time of pain, our burden is lessened by sharing the task of remembrance with each of you. Thank you for adding light and comfort to our community. Tonight, we remember Rose Mallinger, 97, a Holocaust survivor known for her youthful spirit. Tonight, we light a candle for Daniel Stein, 71, a recent grandfather, known for his willingness to help everybody and his dry sense of humor. Tonight, we remember Melvin Wax, 88, known for his kindness and dedicated involvement in the synagogue. Tonight, we remember Jerry Rabinowitz, 66, known for being caring and gentle and truly uplifting. Tonight, we remember Cecil Rosenthal, 59, warm and loving, had an infectious laugh, and an incredible older brother to David Rosenthal, 54, who had a gentle spirit, was an all-around good person, and respected everyone around him. Cecil and David were cousins to our own congregants, Carol and Daryl Lieberstein. Bernice Simon, who was 84, she was generous, always smiled, and held hands with her husband wherever she went. Tonight we remember Sylvan Simon, 86, never missed a chance to open the door for his adoring wife. He was generous and kind to everyone. Bernice and Sylvan were married nearly 62 years ago at the Tree of Life, where they were murdered. Joyce Feinberg, 76, was a proud grandmother, engaging and elegant person. Richard Gottfried, 65. He loved running and practicing dentistry, including volunteering all of his extra time to his work. He was the past president of the Tree of Life a year ago. And Irving Younger, 69, was known for being a youth football and baseball coach, a wonderful dad and grandpa, a truly beautiful soul. Thank you to our candle lighters. How do we honor the dead, especially those who died an unexpected and tragic death? In my tradition, we pray the Mourner's Kaddish, a prayer which praises God and asks God for abundance, peace, and life for us all. Life, and not a mention of death in this prayer. So why? Why do we say this prayer for the beloved dead? Because in order to keep their memories alive, we must live. We must continue living and never let the departed be forgotten. We remember the 11 by praying our Mourner's Kaddish. If you will please rise in honor of them. Yitgadal v'yikadash shmei Rabbah. Yalma divarach hirute v'yamlich malchute. V'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chaye dechol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'imru amen. Yehe shmei Rabba mevarach leolam u'amei amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitale v'yitalal shemei dekudasha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tush bechata v'nechemata. Da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehe shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. V'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. V'imru amen. May their memories be for a blessing. You may be seated. In times of need, sadness and heartbreak, neglect and fear, the written word can oftentimes offer comfort and solace. For me, the book of Psalms in our Hebrew Bible is a book filled with 150 poems of healing, especially the written words of Psalm 121. I lift my eyes to the mountains. From where does my help come? My help comes from God. Yes, our help comes from God. But my tradition also teaches that we can't just rely on God. We must be partners with God in the healing. What can we do? We can use our eyes to find the good in this world, the holy people and the holy actions. And we can use touch to open our arms to those around us, to feel God within us. And when we interact with our children and our parents, our loved ones, our neighbors. And we can use our ears to listen to the laughter of friends, the sound of beautiful music, to listen to our God. Song number 3.
If you're lost, feel afraid, and you don't know what to say, then listen to our God. Is there a question on your mind? Is the answer hard to find? Then listen to our God. Listen with all your heart and soul, and with all your mind. Write them and learn them and teach them well, every morning and night. Close your eyes and listen. Quiet yourself, there's nothing to say. Stop all the chatter that gets in the way. Listen to our God. When the wind and the thunder finally disappear, there's still a voice that you can listen to our God. You can hear it from the top, highest hill, from the valley below the universe. It can come in your soul. Close your eyes and listen. Shema Yisrael Adonai Baruch Shem Elohim Shem Listen. Listen. Listen.
It is my honor to invite up
I told Rabbi Julia this morning that when I'm overcome with emotions, I embarrass myself. So forgive me. On behalf of the Baha'i community, of your local Baha'i community, I would like to offer deep sympathy and sadness over this unspeakable act of hatred, not only to the Jewish community, but to all of us from every religion, race, and ethnicity. For if we look at humanity as interconnected, like the human body, a blow to any part of that body will eventually affect the other parts. I would also like to use these few minutes to focus on both the root cause of these hatreds, as well as possible solutions to overcome them. In my opinion, the root cause of these acts of hatred and violence is prejudice. And the root cause of prejudice is ignorance. The writings of our faith warn of the dangers of fanaticism and hatred. In the face of such senseless acts of violence, we all naturally feel sad, angry, frustrated, helpless, and sometimes even vengeful. However, anger and vengeance in particular never solve the problem, but add to it. Nothing short of a deep belief in the oneness of humanity and a genuine effort by those who believe in it to interact with people of various backgrounds can solve this sad epidemic in our country and in the world. Therefore, two concepts that are essential for addressing prejudice are dialogue and education. The Baha'i community offers to have positive, loving, and continuous dialogue with members of different groups. We hope that through these conversations, the mindset of us versus them, which demonizes other people with labels and logic that justifies hate, may be overcome. Please reach out to us if you are interested to start and have these dialogues. As Martin Luther King Jr. wisely said, darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. And I conclude with a quote from the Baha'i writings, which says, "So powerful is the light of unity that it can illuminate the whole earth." So let us love so strongly that hate has no place. Let us shine so brightly that darkness cannot break through. Thank you.
And now my honor to introduce my friend, our brother, Pastor Scott Kegel from Agora Bible Fellowship.
Well, it's a real privilege to spend a little time with you here this evening, and I'll be brief, but I just wanted to pass on my condolences. Man, there's something about seeing things on the news, and then there's something about hearing little snippets like we did from each one of the lives that were taken just so tragically. It's really, honestly heartbreaking. And from Agora Bible Fellowship, just down the street from you, just wanted to pass on our condolences. My heart breaks not just for those that have lost people, which is the obvious, but also just for our country. There's something in me that says, shouldn't we be further along than this in the whole reconciliation thing? It just makes no sense. The equality thing, I feel like, should be something that was dealt with so long ago, but it hasn't, and it's heartbreaking. I found it interesting, maybe you saw this on the news, and Rabbi Paul pointed to this as well this week, that this was the exact town that Mr. Rogers lived in. How crazy is that? How much work he did trying to bridge the racial divides amongst people. Every single show that he started, he had do you remember this? The really bad sweaters? And he'd be wearing those, and every single time he would come out and he would say to the kids, he'd say, I like you just the way you are, right? You're like, man, why can't we seem to get it? It's heartbreaking. It's a little bit confusing to me. It's hard to understand, but Jeremiah 17:9, the prophet Jeremiah says, the heart is deceitful above all things and desperately sick. Who can understand it? The places that life takes us independent of God's leadership are pretty dark, and that's what we've seen in this tragedy. It's heartbreaking to me. But the truth is, really, when we think about this, how we respond is kind of the determiner of how this proceeds. If you think for each one of us, how do you choose to respond? Because hate's a funny thing. Mr. Rogers points to it. He says, there's one thing evil can't stand, and that is forgiveness. Forgiveness. That was interesting, pretty profound for a guy with bad sweaters. But really, if you think about it, if we stop feeding the beast of hate, what happens? It starves to death, right? It's common sense. If you stop feeding it, it can't exist. God understood this when he taught us the simple truth we've already alluded to back in Leviticus 19, to love your neighbor as yourself. And if you think about that, love your neighbor, who's your neighbor? Is it just the people that look like you, that act like you, that have the same ethnicity of you? Absolutely not. Neighbor is everyone, every single one. There's no caveat, there's no sub-point there in that verse. It's not looking at those that are similar or same ethnicity, but every single one of us. And I love that about what we're here doing this evening, is we're bringing different neighbors together, different faith communities. And that's what I appreciate. Rabbi Julia has really put a lot of work into that. And it's my prayer that we respond. And I was looking, as it was just last shared, that Martin Luther quote. And I was looking down at my notes, and I'm like, oh, shoot, she's saying the exact same thing I was scheduled to say. And but then I was like, hey, isn't that a little something to that? The fact that we're saying the exact same thing. Darkness can't drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate can't drive out hate. Only love can do that. That's my prayer for our response to this. Thanks.
Good evening. My name is Meir Bargeron. I am one of the rabbinic interns here at ORME, and I will be reading what you will find on page 2, number 4. I invite you to follow along. Kaddish after gun violence for when humanity fails itself. Yitgadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah. Exalted and holy be your great name, yet little feels holy today. Another mass shooting, an incomprehensible horror. Too many dead and too many wounded, and we are left to mourn the dead, to heal the wounded, to wonder why. Be'alma divrah cheruteh, in the world which you, God, created according to plan. But is this part of your plan? That death and destruction emerges from the free will you entrusted to us? That automatic gunfire rains down unceasingly? That people kill people using weapons we designed and created with the minds you accorded us? V'amlich malchuteh b'chayachon uvyamachon. May your majestic love be revealed in the days of our lifetime. In your Bible, we are taught when Moses and the Israelites stood praying at the shores of the Red Sea while the Egyptian army was bearing down on them, you called out to us, "Why are you crying out to me? Tell the Israelites to move on." So help us move on, not by forgetting this horror, not by explaining it away, not by blaming the easy targets, but by having courage to mourn the dead, heal the victims, bless the first responders, lead with love, change the laws, and save lives. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu. May there soon be abundant peace from heaven and life for us. Peace that comes because we did not become inured to the continual violence in our concert venues, our schools, our malls, and neighborhoods. And we did not allow the calls for prayers to turn us away from the actions we must take to end mass shootings. But because we did find the courage to stand up, speak up, act out, Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us. Ve'akol Yisrael, ve'akol yoshvei tevel, to all Israel and to all the world. So one day your world, free from this violence, will finally reflect your exaltedness and holiness. V'imru, and together we say, Amen.
My honor to invite up Calabasas City Councilor and Congregant David Shapiro.
Hello to everybody, and thank you for allowing me the privilege to be here tonight with so many special speakers, so many important people, and the most important people, all of you here today. I stand here as a congregant, as Mayor Pro Tem for the City of Calabasas, but more importantly, as an individual who cares, who's heartbroken, who is looking for answers, trying to figure out why this occurred. We're here tonight, and we all stand together in loving memory of the 11 Jews who were murdered at the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh. We're here tonight together to condemn anti-Semitism, hate, and violence in any form whatsoever. It has no place in our world. We're here tonight with unity and resolve, not to be silenced, but to be able to speak up and to confront any hate, evil, or violence, or anti-Semitic acts that we come across in our lifetime. We lit candles tonight in memory, as we've talked about. We're here tonight with hope for all our communities together, not just Calabasas, but all of us. After the candles burn out, after we leave here tonight, we all need to carry forward the message of hope and peace and love, not of violence. We stand together tonight. We're here tonight to find a solution to and stop gun violence in our time. We're here tonight with strength and resolve, regardless of race, religion, background, to show that hate has no place in our time. There's a lot of hope here. There's hope here tonight. There's hope across our country at nights like this all across the United States of America, and there's a lot of incredible people showing up everywhere. We will not be deterred in finding peace. The city of Calabasas stands with all of you, stands with the congregation or me and our community. I stand with all of you in the hope that we can find shalom, peace in our time. Thank you very much.
And my honor to invite up Assemblymember Jesse Gabriel.
Good evening, everyone. As was mentioned, my name is Jesse Gabriel. I'm the newest member of the California legislature, and for the past 3 months have had the privilege of representing our wonderful community up in Sacramento. I've only been there for 3 months, so I don't know that I have any great wisdom to add this evening, but I did want to share some observations that I've had over the past number of hours and really over the past week with everything that happened in Pittsburgh and what preceded it. And I was sitting on Saturday night having some difficult conversations with my wife. Our older son just turned 3, and he just started preschool at our synagogue at Valley Beth Shalom in Encino. And we were having conversations about the epidemic of gun violence in our society and what it means for the fact that at least 5 days a week we send our older son into a building that is undoubtedly a target, and conversations about, as was pointed out, that something in our society seems so sick and so off, and that the fabric just seems to be torn apart. And then we received email from our clergy at Valley Beth Shalom, and there was a beautiful teaching that they reminded me of from Rabbi Abraham Isaac Cook, who was one of the chief rabbis of the state of Israel. And he said that the way we respond to events like this, senseless hatred, which in Hebrew we call sinat chinam, is with something we call ahavat chinam, which means boundless love. And I found that so powerful, and I immediately thought of the quote from Dr. King that Seema mentioned. And in fact, I just came from another vigil in Woodland Hills and used the quote myself, and it resonated with me so powerfully. And then I'm sitting here looking at this beautiful prayer that Rabbi Paul wrote, and it talks about how our response is to lead with love. And so I think, to me, what our different faiths are trying to teach us, and what Pastor Scott talked about, he had the same quote, is that in these moments, love is our best response. And to teach our children to love, to teach them to love being Jewish and to love Israel, but to teach them to love our neighbors and people of other faiths, and to teach them to love doing merciful acts and helping people living at the margins of society, people who are in need of help, other communities facing discrimination, whether it's LGBT folks or immigrants or Muslims or Latinos or people of color, that this capacity to love is how we should respond. And so, to me, that is something that I've thought a lot about, and I think that we as a community, if we're going to respond to this, we need to respond with love. And so that is my prayer for all of us, is that we come together as a community and respond with love. And I think what I see here tonight, and with the example of the clergy, and in particular from the clergy of other faiths, as a Jew, it means so much to have all of you here. This response of unity and love is how we're going to get through this. So thank you for having me.
Song number 5.
Number 5.
We have each other's backs.
To be humble, to be kind, it is a giving of peace in your mind. To a stranger, to a friend, give in such a way that has no end. We are love, we are one, we are how we treat each other when the day is done. We are peace, we are war, we are how we treat each other and nothing more. To be bold, to be brave, you can sing it. It is a thinking that the heart can still be saved, and the darkness can come quick. The danger's in the anger, in the hanging on to it. We are love, come on. We are one, we are how we treat each other when the day is done. We are peace, we are war, we are how we treat each other and nothing more. And tell me what it is that you see, a world that's full of endless possibility, and heroes don't look like they used to, they look like you do. We are how we treat each other and nothing more. We are how we treat each other and nothing more.
I'd like to invite up all the members of the clergy of all the different faiths and the representatives. There are a few who are not members of clergy, Seema and others. Bring your song, your prayer sheets with you. I won't make you sing, I promise. And I know some of you came from being with kids, or came from working in schools, or came from running out of home, and you're dressed in all sorts of ways. And that's okay. I usually don't wear a full suit. But it's here today. Come join us up here, cantors and rabbis and other religious leaders, priests, ministers, sheikhs. It's not here. Come on over here a little more. Let me invite you to turn to number 7 in your prayer pamphlets. I might have written this a year ago, I don't remember. And I posted it too many times, I do remember that. And we all stand here together because we counsel people and carry people forward. And when the hate of anti-Semitism and the hate of racism and the hates of prejudice and more rain down on people, whether by bullets or fires or words, we try to help pick up the pieces. And sometimes we have to remember that we're supposed to be, all of us, like Noah and his wife Naamah and their children, and do it 2 by 2. 2 by 2, the animals went into Noah's ark, seeking safety from the storm. 2 by 2.
2 by 2, the future was secured, ensuring that the vulnerable ones would have chance to thrive. 2 by 2.
Lo ta'amod al dam re'acha. Don't stand idly by as your neighbor bleeds. Teaches Torah goading us to do for humans what Noah and God did for animals, to save them. 2 by 2. We have 2 days, little more, after a shooting, after a fire, after an act of violence, when we are all up in arms over our misinterpreted right to bear arms before we throw up our hands in frustration and return to our self-induced indemnification and go back to sleep.
So let's take a page from Noah's Ark and save them 2 by 2. For 2 days, let's each take 2 actions to save the most vulnerable.
You might.
Join an organization who will fix this problem.
Or send a check to a candidate who will fix this problem.
Or write a letter to your congresspeople who will fix this problem.
Or attend a rally to fix this problem.
Or make a donation to a group that helps fix this problem.
Or write an article about fixing this problem.
Or vote for candidates who will fix this problem.
And then encourage 2 friends to do 2 by 2. Together we read, Yes, be like Noah. Do not stop to pray, except maybe Kaddish for the dead. But hurry up and do your part, 2 by 2. Because we only have 2 days to protect each other, our children, our teens, our worshipers, our concert goers, ourselves, before we go back to sleep. Make your 2 by 2 count now. Number 8.
One day, one day, one day, one day, one day, one day. Sometimes I lay under the moon, thank God I'm breathing. Then I pray, don't take me soon, 'cause I'm here for a reason. Sometimes in my tears I drown, but I never let it get me down. So negativity is around, I know someday it'll all turn around. Because all my life I've been waiting for, I've been praying for the people to say that we don't want to wait no more. There'll be more, and the people will pay one day, one day, one day. One day, one day. The very bottom of this song. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu Shalom, Havidenu Shomreinu L'chaim. Hashkivenu
Let's stand up. Put your arms around each other. Sing. If I had a hammer, I'd hammer in the morning, I'd hammer in the evening, all over this land. I'd hammer out danger, I'd hammer out warning, I'd hammer out love between my brothers and my sisters, all over this land. Ooh, if I had a bell, I'd ring it in the morning, I'd ring it in the evening, all over this land. I'd ring out danger, I'd ring out warning, I'd ring out love between my brothers and my sisters, all over this land. If I had a song, I'd sing it in the morning, I'd sing it in the evening, all over this land. I'd sing out danger, I'd sing out warning, I'd sing out the love between my brothers and my sisters, all over this land. Well, I've got a hammer, and I've got a nail, and I've got a song to sing all over this land. I've never just it's hell freedom, love between my brothers and my sisters, my brothers all over this land. It's the hammer of justice, it's the bell of freedom, it's a song about the love between my brothers and my sisters, all over this
Thank you. Thank you for coming out tonight. Thank you for being here. Those of you who are from Congregation Orami, I hope you feel uplifted and a little bit more hopeful. Those of all sorts of other communities, especially our brothers and sisters in faith, their leaders, thank you for being here to sing us through, to speak us through, to remind us that we are not alone, that we are here for each other. So many people robbed so much work to make today possible. Yesterday morning, we decided we were going to have an interfaith candlelight service, or 2 nights ago. And then the following morning, we woke up and said, I don't know what that is. And so we reached out to our colleagues and said, would you come and would you say something? And like us, they said, what should we say? And we said, speak from your tradition. And we reached out to our leaders. And their offices are here.
Bob Blumenthal's office and Senator Henry Stern, thank you so much for being here and representing them.
And we thank our staff in the office, Susie and Jenny and Lizette. We thank our youth program manager, the incredible Jen Quick. We thank our security team. We thank our president, Fred Gruber, and the board and their committees. Thank you to Scott for coming in and playing piano. Thank you to Cantor Doug Kotler, Rabbi Julia Weiss, and
Rabbi Paul Kipnis.
But mostly, thank you for going home but not going to sleep. For going home but not accepting this anti-Semitism, this hatred as acceptable. Thank you for going home and doing your 2 by 2. And if you're really good, do 2 by 2 by 2 by 2 by 2 by 2 by 2. For I don't want my kids growing up and my one-day grandkids growing up like this. It doesn't have to be. You can make it different. Shalom.
Shalom.
Thank you.